I want to get back to something you said before about helmets in hockey players, which I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you said that the padding in a hockey helmet isn't as good as what you would find in a football helmet. That sounds to me like it would be an area that would need improvement to help prevent against concussions.
Yeah, and that is the case, but, it's interesting because there's a lot of, I won't call it political ramifications to this, but this is not something that is a unilateral decision based on true science. A lot of times the evolving science in concussions or any other injury pattern for that matter takes years and years to be able to determine, and then you have to have a player or a generation of players adapt to it. So if you look at some of the pictures, and we're not talking about in the 1950s, but we're talking about in the 1970s, I mean, these guys, the goalies didn't wear face masks and the players didn't wear helmets. And not up until, I believe, the end of the 1980s, when some of the players were grandfathered into not having to wear a helmet, did the helmet become mandatory. So we know scientifically that there are definitive things that can help. That doesn't always mean that the sport is going to adapt to that right away or over a short period of time.
No face mask and no helmet with those 120-mile-an-hour pucks flying around the ice. That sounds pretty dangerous.
Well, if you've ever seen a goalie from the 60s or 70s, their face looks like road maps. I mean, they just have scars everywhere. And actually, there was one of the first goalies who had one of these Freddy Krueger type masks or whatever on his face. Used to paint where he would have had stitches, and his whole mask was just filled up with black ink. So
yeah, well, the equipment certainly helps protect players and prevent injuries. The NFL is talking about changing some rules to help protect players too. As the head team doctor for the New York Rangers, are similar steps being talked about in the NHL? Any rule changes to help protect players more?
Yeah, there are rule changes in two ways. Number one, equipment, as you mentioned, because definitively, we are changing mouth guards that help quite a lot. We are changing helmets, which help quite a lot. We are trying to adapt face and eye shields, which obviously protect a lot of injuries. But on the other part of it is the rules in terms of hits and how the hits happen. And I can't actually quote the literature that the hockey world has adapted, but basically you can't basically do what they call a blindside hit. In other words, if a guy's not facing you and you're going like a locomotive, you can't just knock somebody down where they're not braced. We found that that's one of the main reasons that people get concussions is because they don't see something coming and they're not braced for the fall or whatever. Those kinds of hits are much, much less than they used to be, and I will at least tell you anecdotally, on my team, the concussions have dropped precipitously.